Welcome to an episode of Modern Block. Thank you for joining me today. So, Beta 3 for Rugby 20 is out, and I thought we'd go through some of the changes, some of the patch notes, information from the devs itself, and maybe do a little bit of playthrough with the changes and see what kind of impact on the Beta 3. This is the last beta before the game comes out early Jan, so we're hoping for a large amount of the changes and fan inputs. And obviously, I'd love to hear your opinions on this game. Like, have you played it? Have you played the beta? What do you feel about it? So let's get into it. One of the biggest things obviously now is they've added the training options, some more training options here with passing, ruck training, scrums, goal kicking, lineouts, and advanced tackling. Also set play there, so which is quite cool. Advanced tackling effectively just being that you can use the RS button to tackle or your RS analog stick on Xbox or the right analog stick on PlayStation to tackle a little bit more harder and have more impact. It gives you a little bit more of a chance, especially for players at a little bit of distance. Although it is quite a tough mechanic to master, it does seem to work well if you can figure it out. Set plays in that, the one thing I'll criticize about the trainings overall is that so obviously it's just that, I don't know, sometimes they're a little bit too scripted. I'd like a little bit more of a real life scenario. For example, the ruck systems effectively just, we can go in and check it out and I can show you. So obviously the rucks, some of the big criticism from the game originally was just the rucks are a little too slow. Another part of the patch notes they do state is that they've increased the actual speed that the AI will take out the thing, and also the speed at which the ball is available, which should make for faster gameplay, because I have to admit, at the moment, one of my biggest criticisms is overall is the gameplay is a little slow. On another point, they've increased the game speed by 5% and are also considering asking fan feedback. And so you guys also need to put that maybe you can actually put that as a setting, which would be quite nice. They've also added a suggested replacement feature, which I think is quite useful, especially something similar to how FIFA does it, where as players get too tired, it'll tell you to swap them out and give you options without having to actually physically go and do that manually, which is quite nice. So here's the rucking training that I was saying about. So effectively, as you can see, it's just a normal scrum practice, ruck practice system setup. It's nice that they've at least put the details in. I appreciate that. But effectively, so you've got this where it just tells you, okay, push B to enter a player. So that's simple enough. So a player enters with B. Then obviously also they'll now show you again with push B. So it's very simple, but I mean, it's not really real life scenario of a game. I mean, there's no real interaction with the actual gauge bar, which is an important mechanic, which they don't really explain here. They now do so something I didn't know about the game that the training least exposes, is that you can actually hold B to actually have it that two players will enter the ruck if they're nearby, which is a useful mechanic. I think that's been a tough thing because you got to slam B when you get there. And on top of the fact that you'll see now with the training that the important part of the rucks, which are very different to most other rugby games, the mechanic of having it that when you now enter, you also need to push your RS or right analog to actually tell the person to engage properly, which is, I think, a little bit of an odd mechanic. I don't really love that, as it's, I don't know, it seems unnecessary. But yeah, that's my opinion, obviously. That's my opinion. But yeah, let's just leave this out for now and we can go back to it. Some of the other biggest things they've also added is just a little bit more diversity to the way that the AI will attack. I definitely felt that it was a little it gets a little stale fast, so hopefully this is quite good, and we'll see that when we go into gameplay. They've also added that more camera angle options, which I think is very important, as there was quite only a couple of real options previously, which were frustrating. So let's go to them now and see what options have been brought in and kind of what they actually give to us as here. They have added some extra options here when it comes to now actually changing the camera. It's very interesting. So obviously you've got, if you go there, you'll see that they've got the camera height options and that, and they've got your distance, which I think is good, and it gives a little bit more options on that. Shake intensity, I like that they've added the ability, because sometimes I think it's a little jarring and you can actually disable it now, which is nice. They've got player view, home team, away team, and player view options. But just like Rugby 15, I've tried this and it does not work. So unless I'm not understanding player view right, but player view in every other game, and from my understanding, is the player who actually is playing the game. But if it's a two-player game, it should be swapping to the attacking player. Like, that's my opinion of player view. So if I am wrong, please put it in the comments below. But that still means that they need to bring that in, because it is very frustrating to play as the attacking player playing at the bottom of the screen, playing down. It's very frustrating and jarring. It doesn't make sense, and it really makes it tough to have a fair game against a fair player. So yeah, that's very interesting. That I don't know. That's my real question mark, and it makes it really hard to play in a free friend style, which is almost 90% of how a lot of people play this, unless you're playing online against somebody else. But if you want to play local against somebody, it's it's almost, I don't know, almost unplayable, in my opinion. Going on to some other things that they have changed, they have improved the sound, I think, quite a bit. There's some sound effect changes, slow motion sounds have improved it so it's not as jarring when they swap over. Some of the commentary has been a little bit improved, and it makes it a lot not as obvious that it's pieces clipped together. It's a little bit more fluid. I like that. UI improvements is advertisements on the field. I'll go into again now to show you that. Country flags have been added on the profiles. Stamina bar is a little bit more obvious when it comes to seeing if players are running low. Photos have been added for players. And you've also got passes are easier to execute and actually see the power that they're using. I think that's very good. League mode, in the league mode, players regain their stamina faster, which is, I think, helps a lot with the play. Passes in the set play are easier to make sure that they actually go, because I find that they actually don't have a lot of, I don't know, it wasn't as easy as it could have been, and yeah, it doesn't help the experience. Rucks have been, as I said, sped up a lot, as I said. The ruck camera is also made a little bit easier to, I don't know, more smoother and a better angle. AI support for the way that they handle breakdowns and tackles is better. But yeah, definitely improvements. But I actually just want to highlight something that just bothers me a lot about the game. So I'm obviously playing by myself, but I've got another controller, so I'm going to have 2 players play. So obviously, number one, this is where I think that they need to start looking, is it doesn't make sense to me, first things first, that you can't have they don't have an option here to go and like add your environments. So firstly, they only really have rainy days and nights, and it doesn't really have anything to do with wind, which is an important part of rugby and that they've just left out of the game. First thing that I don't enjoy. They have at least got a decent amount of difficulty levels, and they are pretty difficult, but what bothers me is I don't think they're difficult because the AI is better. I think they're difficult because some of the options, like the PC's just impossibly good at some stuff, which bothers me. But yes. I would also like a random option for the weather. It just, I don't know, like the game will automatically just choose one, so you can default it to random, but that's my opinion. So let's get into actual playing a game. I've just picked some random teams here, but I wanted to highlight something quickly now that is a real bothersome side for me on this game, and I don't know why they haven't looked into it. One of the major playing points for many rugby games is the ability to play with both people on the same team. There is no feature for support for that at the moment. You can only add one other player to the other side, so you can't even have more than 2 people play locally, and I don't get why such an important feature has been left out. That bothers me to no end. Another part of the game that really does bother me a little is if you look now when we start in the game, the way that the computer doesn't auto tackle. Now obviously I understand for purists you want to make sure you're doing everything, and I get it, but it becomes extremely frustrating and button mashy when you have to do everything on the field. There are 15 players that you have to control. As one person, a game needs to understand that and make sure that it helps you in that. Even FIFA has the abilities to like put players in space and all that. So what I'm trying to say is the following. So I'm going to kick off here. So obviously both players are controlled now by controllers. The one controller has no people. But now what bothers me is they will never tackle unless I tell them to. They will follow the player, fair enough, but you have to physically tackle. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that is a little bit useless. Like, obviously, if the guy's got a proper space and the computer mustn't magically tackle, but if he's there, tackle him, damn it. Like, that, it just helps with the gameplay experience. But anyway, that is just a little bit of a gripe I have with the game. I hope that they are fixing that and that they make it that there definitely is a little bit more of a actual play tackle. So I'm just going to go through before I will release another video of proper gameplay and all that now next. But I'm just going to finally just finish off with some bug fixes that they have fixed, and now that I've finished my moaning about some stuff. They have fixed that the referee does the wrong direction on penalties, which I think is a big mistake, so I'm glad they fixed that. They fixed the bug where the ball could ground outside. It actually could ground the ball outside of the try line and still try. That was fixed. The AI would go for a try when it wouldn't go for a try even when it should, obviously. Like it would just stand in the try line, which is a problem. fixed bug where player occasionally would run to the end of the field. It would just run off the end of the field, which I think is similar to the fact that it wouldn't put the ball down. They actually also had the problem with the camera not panning nicely when you do a quick throw. That's been fixed. So there's been a lot of really good bug fixes to improve the experience. Overall, there's many, many more, and I will share a link to the whole document from them that you can see in the comments below. But I just kind of wanted to highlight some of the things that they still need to look at, just to give an overall cohesive experience, because this is a game that you play with friends normally. You play it with buddies, you play online obviously, but you can also play locally and like while drinking or whatever. So I just find that they've left out those obvious ones. So another thing I'd just like to highlight, which I find odd, is if you're now running with the ball, so you can run directly out, like if you just aim left, but if you're now running forward and then you go like running on the line, the game will never let you run out, which I get, but it kind of handholds you way more than it should. It's on all difficulty levels that I've seen, and I just think that that's a little bit weird, because it shouldn't handhold you that much. You can run out directly like that, as you see that. You can run directly like that, but as soon as you're trying to run down the try line, there's no need for you to care about staying on the try line or just being close. You'll be kept in the try line no matter what. And that's unnecessary. That's unnecessary handholding. I don't need that as a player. And that, to me, is, if you're going to keep that, then auto tackle. I mean, that makes much more sense if you want to help players play the game. Manage the other players a little bit, put them in the right spaces and properly. But that's something, just some of the things. Overall, there has been some good improvements, and the game is definitely feeling a lot more fluid, especially when it comes to immersion. It's a lot more immersive. But when it comes to team play or having like a games day with the game, there's still a lot of missing features, a lot. And I'm hoping that they understand that these are essential features to keep the game going strong. So yeah, please check out that I will be bringing out a video going through like some proper gameplay, having a match or two, showing you how it feels now. To check that out, it'll be coming out soon. But yeah, that's kind of the new beta 3 changes. Let me know your opinion of Rugby 20 and how you feel about it and all those good things.